Hello folks, and welcome to a Wise Game video, where in today's video we're going to be covering Wrath of the Lich King Classic. What I'm actually going to be discussing in today's video is a guide to do with riding and training, the cost, and what you're going to need to actually get cold weather flying and all the above for Wrath of the Lich King Classic. But before we do, remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell notification down below. This all helps in supporting the channel and also sends you awesome video guides. So with no further ado, let's dive in and give it a look. Now, I will be providing in the comments section of today's video a timestamp. So if you're somebody who's already got level 70 from the Burning Crusade Classic and you just want to know about Northrend and Wrath of the Lich King, I will provide that timestamp. However, you may want to still watch the whole video in case if you make a new alternate tune a level 1 in Wrath of the Lich King Classic. Okay, so first I'm going to go over the slow ground mount. So this is the first mount you're going to be able to get if you're starting off on a fresh tune. Now the good news about this is that from the Burning Crusade Classic it used to be at level 30, but now they reduced it down to level 20 in Wrath of the Lich King Classic. And the slow mount again adds 60% of movement speed. So the good news also is that not only did they lower the level that you need, but also the gold. So in the Burning Crusade it used to be 35 gold when it came to getting the riding skill. And then the mounts would cost around 9 gold. Now certain reputations do reflect the gold amounts when it comes to purchasing riding skills and mounts. So if you have honored or revered reputation with say your main city, say like Stormwind for humans, then of course you're going to get a small reduction. For Wrath of the Lich King, the cost is now going to be just 4 gold at level 20 for your riding skill. And then the mount itself will cost an additional 1 gold. That's a huge drop. Next up, I'm going to show you guys the locations of these trainers. And again, this is for the slow mount trainers. And I also hope that this list that I'm going to show you guys is still accurate with the way that Wrath of the Lich King Classic is going to be. I did check some of these trainers on Warmane. So if you see that this list is not accurate for your faction, please leave a comment down below. Thanks. No, I'm not going to read off each name and each location. I'm just going to show you guys the information, and then you can pause the video at these spots. So the first list I'm going to show here is for the Alliance. Most of the times it's also for your fast mount trainers too. It's usually the same person when it comes to ground mounts. And then next up is the list for the Horde players. And keep in mind that most of these locations will also have a mount vendor. Okay, next we're going to go into fast ground mounts. And this changed big time between the Burning Crusade Classic going into Wrath of the Lich King Classic. In the Burning Crusade, you had to be level 60 to be able to get the skill for fast ground mounts. However, in Wrath of the Lich King, they dropped it now to level 40. And the same when it came to the cost. The cost of this dropped drastically. So at level 60, the cost for this in the Burning Crusade was around 600 gold. In Wrath of the Lich King, they dropped it down to 50 gold for the riding skill and also 10 gold for the actual mount, totaling 60 gold. That's a huge decrease. And again, the locations of the trainers and the mount vendors would be the same as what we just seen for the slow mounts. So now next is flying mounts and the riding skill for your flying mounts in the game. Now the areas you're going to be able to fly in eventually in Wrath of the Lich King is of course the Burning Crusade areas, which is called the Outlands, and then eventually later on the Wrath of the Lich King areas called Northrend. And this riding is called expert riding. And it even states that flying mounts at 150% of epic ground mount speed, but in the air it can be reduced. So in the Burning Crusade, flying mounts or flying speed is about 60%. And these are the locations of the vendors and also the trainers when it comes to the flying mounts. So these are located in outlands. So you're going to be able to start getting this at level 60 and beyond. And again, feel free to pause the video here if you want to look at this list. And then again, for the expert riding, the cost will be 250 gold for the training, and then an additional 50 gold to buy the mount. And special note that druids can slow fly at level 68 once they get their flight form. Okay, next up is the Artisan Riding, and this is the fastest flying mount speed that there is. But this does not come cheap. So this is going to cost 5,000 gold for the training and approximately about 200 gold to buy a fast flying mount. So you do have to have a specific fast flying mount for this, bringing your total up to 5,200 gold. What this involves is 280% movement speed, which is a huge increase from the slow flying. Now, I do have to admit that this is where things start to get a little confusing to me. The reason being is because, obviously, I don't have Wrath of the Lich King Classic yet. So I have to go by what websites say and also Warmane, the private server. But we know that private servers can be different than what the classic game is going to be. And what I mean by this is that in Warmane, most of these riding trainers actually train you for all the riding in the game, so you don't have to bounce around from place to place to learn each aspects of your training. As we could see in some of these images I'm going to be showing, that these trainers indeed have anywhere from apprentice all the way up to the 5,000 flying speed. However, I'm not sure if it's going to be like this in Wrath of the Lich King Classic. So please forgive me, guys, I'm trying the best I can, but if this information happens to be a little off, once we do get Wrath of the Lich King Classic, that's the reason why. So any updates that I do come across for this video, I will put in the comment section down below. Alright folks, I think it's time now to move on to Wrath of the Lich King. Let's discuss the flying, the trainers, and all the above. So, let's give it a look.
The day you were born, the very forests of Lordaeron whispered the name Arthas.
Now, one of the cool things when it comes to the trainers, when it comes to flying and all the above, when it comes to Wrath of the Lich King, is that a good amount of them is for both factions. With the exception of like Bar and Tundra, who does have their own separate cities when it comes to the factions and their own trainers. But one of the main trainers in Wrath of the Lich King is called Hira Snowdon, and she could be found outside of Dalaran. And she's going to be located on Casus Landing. That's where the Flight Master is also. Hira is going to be on top of a fancy looking flying mount. But sometimes you may come here looking for her and she cannot be found. The reason being is because many times she gets bored. And what she likes to do is take her fancy mount for a flight. So many times you could come out here, you could look up in the sky at Casus Landing and you could see her flying above you. You're just going to have to wait for her to land to speak to her again. Now, as we see in this image, as I discussed earlier, is that she does have all the different levels of riding. So, for example, say if you were on a level 20, you were able to get ported out to this area, you would be able to even do your apprentice riding from her. Again, providing, I hope that this is the way it's going to work for the actual classic game. So it's really a one-stop shop if they do implement this system that we see right here with all the different riding requirements. So you don't have to bounce all around. And I'm also going to show you guys in just a few moments a free way to actually get cold weather flying in the game for Classic. Now in this list right here is all the different trainers you're going to be able to find in Northrend when it comes to Wrath of the Lich King riding. And again, most of them have all the different levels of riding training. Located at Shalaza Basin, which is also the area of the camp called River's Heart, you're going to find our buddy called Pilot Vic. And Pilot Vic also has the cold weather flying, which I'm going to get into now. Most of the other flying you were able to get even before Wrath of the Lich King, even the 5K fast flying. But the cold weather flying you can only get in Northrend. And what this does is that actually it enables you to be able to use flying mounts in Northrend. And you could start doing this at level 77 and above. The cost for cold weather flying is 1,000 gold. And you do need to have the riding skill of 150 or above. But there's also a free way that you could actually get this in the Wrath of the Lich King Classic. So if you don't have the gold at this time, this is another great option. And this will also help you along when it comes to your questing. You want to visit Honest Max, who is in the Goblin Town of K3 in Storm Peaks. And this is providing that you have not trained for the cold weather flying yet. And again, providing that you do have the 150 riding skill already. Now this is going to be a different type of thing. This is really not a skill. This is more of a griffin that he's going to give you to be able to pull this off. So for the Alliance, he's going to give you a lone griffin reins. And then for the Horde players, you're going to be getting a lone wind rider reins. And then you can pause here and read more in this article. Now here's an important thing right here though. You are limited with this. So in other words, you're only going to be able to use this in Storm Peaks, Ice Crown, as well as Shalaza Basin. The other parts of Northrend is off limits with these mounts. But again, it's still a great way to get around until you do get the 1,000 gold to actually get the training. Alright guys, we're almost done with this video, and I really thank you for hanging out so far. But again, I think we shared a lot of valuable information where you should not be scratching your head now when it comes to how this all works for Wrath of the Lich King Classic. So, an item I want to go over, because this is important too, this is for also cold weather flying, is that there is an item called Tome of Cold Weather Flying. And again, this can be purchased from Hira Snowdon, that's the NPC we went over earlier, the trainer that's in Dalaran outside on Casas Landing. And she sells this item for 1,000 gold. Now what this is used for is for your alternate characters. So once you purchase this, it's going to become account bound. And it's going to make it now where they're going to have the cold weather flying at level 68. So again, this is account bound. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much it. So I'm going to go over a few things. And I'm going to show you guys this facts sheet right here, so you can pause it here if you want to read this. And this breaks down everything that we covered in today's video. But I must put out a disclaimer again saying that Wrath of the Lich King Classic is not here at this time. We're not sure what kind of changes Blizzard could always make. We know that they're pretty good when it comes to changes lately. And hopefully what I covered in today's video will hold true, because I'd hate to take this down and do it all over again. It took me about 3 days. So anyways, guys, I hope that this guide helped, and I really appreciate you stopping by. And we will catch you the next time. You guys have a fantastic day. Take care.